preaching singing, but I couldn't help it because sometimes when I'm singing, God's just like doing this and he's talking. Sometimes he sings to me, but sometimes he just talks. And so then I'm trying to talk and sing and I'm like, hello, you're interrupting. Anyway, God just kept saying this morning, so I know it's for today, even with it being Father's Day. When we read the word, the people that miss Jesus right in front of them was any individual that had a preconceived idea of him, of the Messiah, of heaven on earth, how God would fulfill it. Preconceived ideas about God, about you, about your friends, about your family, even about our government or the earth is what's going to stop the experience of God. Preconceived ideas, preconceived opinions, preconceived whatever it is, right? Whatever that we're creating is what's going to stop an awakening. It's what stops experience. It's what stops raptures, personal raptures between you and God every day. So when you hear or feel something that says, hey, travel here or do this or do something you've never done before, I promise you just do it, because it was the people that had no clue about Jesus that embraced Jesus because they had no preconceived ideas or notations. They didn't know. So sometimes you have to move and do something you've never done before so that you're open again to go, God, I've never been this way before. That's why God calls you and has you do crazy things that make no sense. That's okay. Because he's trying to put you in a situation that pulls and makes a demand on, I need heaven and I don't know what it's going to look like. So sometimes we get mad at God because maybe we're ill. Maybe we have a pain. Maybe we go through a heartbreak and then we blame God. But the blaming is what stops the encounter. He said he was blind for my glory. It was so his glory could show up on his behalf. But if he would have blamed God for being blind, would his glory have shown up? Right? So whatever it is that you're going through, whatever transition or pain or whatever it is, instead of blaming God for it, go, wait, I've never been this way before. This is a moment and a situation for heaven to show up. And I don't know how, but that's good that you don't know how, because then you're open to experience. You're open to experience. And I'm telling you, the earth is so hungry for experience, and it will not be. God is not the one stopping that, right? We stop it through preconceived ideas. So this right now, any preconceived ideas of how he is a father or how he is a God or how he is a provider, just let him go. I'm telling you, he just wants to wreck what you think you know in your finances, in your relationships, in your dreams. What you think you know, what worked yesterday isn't what's going to work today, because he is an everyday, every minute, every second God, and he wants to blow your mind. So we can't put these limitations on our Father anymore. Let them go. That is how heaven invades earth. That is how your Father invades your world. Letting go of what you think you know, because it stops experiences and it stops heaven on earth. That is all. I'm done.
Oh, that's awesome. That's, you know what, a lot of that right there is what ends a lot of marriages, a lot of relationships, that we didn't know we had preconceived ideas. If we would have had all the facts that you were going to act like that up front, you know what I'm saying? We would have went into this a little bit different. I remember one time we got really ripped off. Everyone say really ripped off. And once I felt the betrayal and all that, but once I realized that the person we were dealing with was a criminal, I was like, oh, then I could easily love him. I have criminals in my family, you know what I'm saying? But the part is I didn't know. And that was on me. Because that was on me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know you were going to slap me in the face. I didn't preconceive that, right? So I just love you. All right, let me give you a couple announcements before we go into Father's Day stuff. Joy is meeting this Tuesday night, just older youth at 65 and up. And it's going to be at Karen's house. Wave your hand there, Karen. Stand up, Karen. Let's see how beautiful you are. Isn't she beautiful? That's at 10 a.m. I will send an email out if you need direct directions. You can see her, okay? I will say this. I had like a 32-year-old guy. You know that one woman? She's really beautiful. He's trying to explain it. He's talking about you, Karen. Yeah. Another great announcement. If you guys know the family that sits right over here, Josephine, and her daughter, Susan, who's big and pregnant, she had her baby this week, which is so cool. It's Susan and Paul, am I right? And they named the baby Josie. I want to say after Josie, but it was after Josephine. But anyway, they named her baby Josie. Well, you don't know her. This is my mother. She's from, she's wondering who. You guys be sure to meet my little Italian grandmother. Mother. My grandmother is in heaven. Unless you have an encounter with her, don't meet her today. She passed on at 103. This is my mother from, it's Josie's grandmother. Yes, I got this right. Darrin may have to separate us. I'll tell you that right there. Because when people meet my mom and then they go, oh, we get it. They get why I'm wired the way I'm wired. Okay, can I have our Father's Day staff come to the front? Dun-ta-da!
Also, one other announcement is youth. Youth are meeting every Wednesday night right out there in that foyer. Yeah, it was wild. It was wild and really great last week. It was so much fun. So youth, we're meeting every Wednesday, 7 o'clock, and we will feed you and we will have a good time. Okay. All right. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers here. Whoop, whoop. Happy Father's Day to Daddy. Yeah. Happy Father's Day to Darrin Begley. Yeah. He has been an amazing father and an amazing spiritual father to so many people. And I just love you, Darrin. Yeah. And happy Father's Day to all the spiritual fathers out there. There's a lot of people that have fathered so many, and they're not natural fathers, but they're fathers. So bless you guys too. All right. So we have some gifts, but you're going to have to earn them. So, so we have Team Never Quit bags. We have Team Never Quit hats. We have a mug. We have a Yeti cup. We have flashlights that are so cool. I want this flashlight. I'm telling you. I'm not a father, but I'm going to have that flashlight. That's the Team Never Quit mug. Then we have the Yeti cup. This is Vanna. And the flashlight, it has 5 different modes. It can, it'll blind you and all this good stuff. It's awesome. She's going to take it out. All right. No, it's not going to. You got to have batteries. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. We also have these things, guys. These were so much fun. You can open this guy up, but it has a little card in it. So you put it on your wrist, and it have magnets in it, and you can put your tools on it. And so it's hands-free working with your tools. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. And I heard men like these things because Amazon knows. We also have a $20 gift certificate to Prestige Hand Car Wash and Detailing. We have a $25 gift certificate to Outback Steakhouse, a $20 gift certificate to Longhorn Steakhouse, and then we have some shirts. Now, we're only giving away 2 shirts, but you have a choice in which one you want if you get it. So there is the Red Friday. Can you just tell them what Red Friday is real quick? Oh, you have a
well, Josie wanted me to tell you what Team Never Quit is, too. So Team Never Quit is an organization that's owned and operated by Marcus Luttrell. Hello? 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 Hey. So Marcus Luttrell is the lone survivor, if you've ever seen the movie, and his story is incredible, and he is a person that never gave up and never quit, and him and his wife, Melanie, started a company called Team Never Quit. The movie's incredible. It's pretty rough, but it's incredible. I also work for Team Never Quit. And so really, as Christians, we're really part of that because we're never going to give up. We're never going to quit. We're never, like when they were interviewing me for the job, she's like telling me, I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, that is me. Like, I never quit. Like, I've never, So that's why we have some of this stuff. Red Friday is for us as civilians that are in the military, not in the military, whatever, to remember those that are deployed now. So we ask people to wear, not we, like the nation asks people to wear red on Red Friday to honor those deployed so we can remember them, that they're out there, that they know that we're remembering them, we're thinking about them, we're praying for them, we're praying for their families.
And this one is the Patriot?
The Patriot Tour is one of the organizations that we do. It's just some amazing military men and women that travel, and they do a Patriot Tour, and it's very inspirational. And they speak on God, family, and country, so that's what the shirt is as well.
Okay, so the way this is going to work is when I ask a trivia question, you have to raise your hand. And, whoever stands the fastest, Teresa and Carly are going to be watching. and whoever they say won, they get to answer that question. And if you miss, sorry, you got to sit in the next person. Okay.
Yeah, it's
All men. All
men.
men 22 and older. All men. Okay, you ready? Here comes your first question. Well,
right.
this one,
Hey,
I'm sorry. All right. A watcher on each side. Here we go.
and then I've got a microphone when you answer the question. So.
Okay, so the first question that I have, this is not a trivia. Who is the oldest father that we have here? We want to honor you. Let's see. The oldest.
Okay,
All right.
60 and older, 70 and older.
He's the oldest. All right,
Anyone
you
else?
get to pick. Anybody going once, twice?
Anyone
No?
else?
I hear something. Who else?
Okay.
Okay, what's the age? 73.
73.
Oh. What's the age?
77.
Whoa! There it is, right there.
All right.
Come on up, Dad. Decide which
Come
one
on.
you want. He
Go
gets
pick
the
out
first
anything
choice.
you want.
Anything you want.
If
Okay, now you guys, are y'all ready? I mean, are you really ready? Okay, first question. And you can only win once.
Take whatever.
Because I know some people who are really smart and have won several gifts in this place. I won't say his name, Peter. He's won. Peter will win it all because Peter's really cool. Okay, so you can only win one gift. Okay, y'all ready? Who played Neo in The Matrix?
Keanu Reeves.
There you go. Come get your gift. All right, y'all ready? Because I want Darrin to have plenty of time to talk about inheritance today. Okay, so the next one. Which chess piece can only move diagonally?
Right there. Oh, gosh.
Hey, they're calling it, not me. Bishop is correct. Come get your gift.
I'm running around.
Woo! All right, here you go. You ready?
Okay. Oh.
Which NFL team is publicly owned?
Peter, say it out loud.
That's it. Come on up, Peter.
Come on, Peter. Woo! Green Bay Packers. They're the only publicly owned NFL team.
And they've been so since 1923. That's a fun fact. Okay, next question. This is not trivia. Which father have the most kids in here? Okay, if you have 5 or more kids, stand up.
Stand up.
That you know of. 5 or more kids. Okay, all right. If you have 6 or more kids, stand up. Oh my God, 7 or more kids.
Stay standing.
Oh, we got 2 6? 2 6s. Who else? Stand. If you have 6 or more kids, stand.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
Your father too. There you go.
All right, 6 or more.
We're on.
7, 8.
Woo!
8 is Ron. Come on up,
Come on up, Ron. 8 children.
Okay. All right, here we go.
All
Are y'all ready? Which is the only American football team to go a whole season undefeated, including the Super Bowl?
Cameraman. Omar.
Time out.
He was the first? Carly, which one?
Josie said, I don't know. Who did it?
Okay.
I don't know what to do. Darrin, choose one. Both of them. Okay.
Okay, both of them. What'd you say?
He said Miami
Yeah,
Dolphins.
come on
Dolphins.
up,
They
both of y'all.
Come
Come
on
on.
up, both of y'all.
Come pick.
All right, yeah, he a Miami Dolphin fan, so.
When y'all stand up, do a little woo, so I know
Okay,
where it looks.
are y'all ready to, you get,
That would help.
no, just come get your gift. He trying to make up rules, man, come on now. All right, okay. How many, everybody, you got to stand up and make a noise because they're watching. You ready?
Come on.
How many NBA championships did Michael Jordan win with the Chicago Bulls?
Right here.
That's right.
Woo! 6. Come on up.
Okay, now only one. Y'all get ready. Get ready. Which NFL team won the most Super Bowls?
More Super Bowl rings. Yeah.
Nope, Super Bowls.
Okay.
Nope, that's not right.
Wrong bomb.
Okay, let me
Over here.
give you a hint.
No,
Jordan, wait.
He stood up.
He stood up, okay.
Not him.
But he already won, okay.
Bomb. Nope.
Okay, let's start over. I'm going to give you a hint. It's more than one. So here's the question. It's more than one. Okay, which...
Not more than one team.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
They tied.
Oh.
They have tied. There are... You know it? Tell me, Darrin.
Pittsburgh.
Say it again.
New England and Pittsburgh.
Yep. Correct.
Half right ain't right, baby. Just kidding.
Dennis, you get to come pick for...
Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Here's a question for you. How much money did J.J. Watt raise for Hurricane Harvey victims? And I'm... Oh, you know?
You already know?
Tell me the number. No. Okay, I'm going to... That's it right
That's
there.
exactly right.
That's exactly. I was going to give you an A, B, and C, but Vic got it. Come on, Vic, get your gift.
$37 million he raised
He
for
raised
Hurricane Harvey.
$37 million. That's right. Okay. Here's a question. You ready? We're getting down to it. Here you guys go. I'm going to go quicker. Which NFL team appeared in 4 consecutive Super Bowls from 1991 to 1994, and they lost them all?
And lost them all.
That's it.
That's it. Come on. Woo! Good job. That's crazy. I don't know the answers to any of these, just FYI.
I know the man would. Okay, one more. Here we go. A couple of more, a few more. Name one of the top 3 money-making movies worldwide
Of all time.
of all times. That's it.
Yes,
And
Avatar.
that's the number
Yes.
one.
That is the number
That
one
is the number
in the
it was
world. Avatar.
Avatar, then Avengers, and Titanic.
Yeah, so Avatar
So
was the
Avatar.
number one. Yeah.
I know, it's crazy, right? Okay, you guys, we're down to 5 more gifts, so we got to go real quick. Are y'all ready? Okay. What is the fastest land speed of any car? Oh, he stood up right there.
He already got it. No, the speed.
Not the car, the speed. I'm going to give you okay, if you want to say something.
He's already won, though,
No,
right?
yeah, he didn't win. No,
But
I'm
you've
gonna give
already
you.
won.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a choice: 500, 250, 763. Hey, y'all
Chris,
I told you to stand up and give the
He
answer.
did. Chris said it.
All right, Chris, come on with it. Come on with it, Chris.
He stood up and sat down. It was,
Okay, guys. It was 763. That's
ridiculous.
crazy. Okay, what NFL, please y'all guys, look, be ready to stand up.
There's 4 left.
What NFL football team has won the most Super Bowl rings?
You got to
You
stand
gotta
up.
stand up. Okay, I'm going to give you a choice. Are y'all ready?
No, it's not Patriots.
You
He
can
said
stand
Patriots.
up. You got to
He did.
stand up.
He did.
No, that's not right. Oh, no, just stand up. Stand up.
Hey, no Googling
Here we
back there,
go.
Travis.
No Googling. It's the Cowboys, New England Patriots, San Francisco 49ers, or the Pittsburgh Steelers. You gotta stand, and she got a point.
Travis? Yes.
That's it.
Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers have won the most Super Bowl rings of all time.
Okay, now I need another question. Who's the youngest father in the group? Who? Youngest father. Who? Omar? What's the age? 32? Do we have any fathers younger than that? Huh? Brad, how old? Brad, 29. Any younger fathers than 29? You got to say it, you guys. Come on, Brad. Okay, most grandchildren. 10. 10? That's Ron. Ron is just like, all right, Ron, you won the bag.
You already won. You already won something.
How many grandkids do you have? 17. Wow. I'm not gonna say that.
Okay.
I want this to go to the oldest dad,
Okay.
please.
Yeah.
Now, Teresa wanted me to ask you guys a question that I'm not gonna ask you. I'm just kidding. How many times a day do human beings pass gas? It's a question. It's a trivia question.
I figured you men would enjoy this. Don't get mad at me.
So if you think you know, between 1 and 15.
You gotta stand up.
You gotta stand up.
You gotta stand up. What
They're
is
not
the
gonna even
average?
stand up. Okay.
No, not 15. No, not 12. Stand up. 35.
No, I said between 1
1
and 15.
and 15.
Okay, have you won something?
No.
You're the closest. It's 14.
It was 14 times a day, y'all stinky. Happy Father's Day, you guys. We love you so much. Thank you for being part of the house.
I feel like we just played Price is Right or something. Come on down. Yeah. Yeah. Have we released the kiddos? We released them. Kiddos can go. 12 and under. I don't even know how to recoup from all that. I mean, my question is, how do you tie on a team that won the most Super Bowls, but then one of those teams has more rings than the one? So, anyway, Google needs to update their repertoire, right? Anyway. What? They always come later. Yeah, they always have. Any other questions?
I don't know. Google told us.
Google wrong. Matter of fact, Pittsburgh won their 6 before New England won their 6. So it should have went to Pittsburgh, not New England. Just saying.
Yeah, but as of today, they tied.
Yeah, but the question was how many had the most rings? And you gave it to New England. Should have been both.
Oh, man. I don't know.
You know, if it's the youngest dad, I think maybe it's the youngest dad when you had your first kid, because I was 18. All right, open your Bibles with me. Let's shift out of that. All right, everybody good? Happy Father's Day. We had a great time in Oklahoma with camp, and then I went over into eastern Oklahoma and Brad went with me. We did 3 days over there, had a good time, and so trying to process everything that's happening in the last few days of where we're at. I know Capo's not here, so I'll embarrass her. My spiritual daughter, I've been telling you that God's a Nigerian. Anyway, she's doing a competition and actually won first runner-up in 2 categories in Austin yesterday, which is amazing discipline if you've ever tried to do that. It's like, wow. So anyway, congratulations to her. And open your Bible with me, Genesis chapter 1. I want to go into some things today, and I'm going to have to cut half of it out, but we'll try to get you into really what I want to release on Father's Day. All right? How many love inheritance? And I say this all the time. When do you get an inheritance? When you die or somebody else dies? Okay, so we're going to go into inheritance today, but I'm going to shift it on you because when you think of inheritance, when we think of inheritance, most of the time you think houses, land, money, right? Cars, gold bars. Okay. But I don't want to talk about that kind of inheritance today because that is just an overflow of God's inheritance. So I want you to really understand where we're going in this. And so I'm going to bring some things home that I've taught before, but I'm really going to connect them so you can start to prepare yourself for the increase. Because if you can understand this, it affects everything else. All right? Everybody good? We shifted out of Price is Right? Okay. So the Bible says this, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. So everything you're trying to inherit that's of the kingdom, that's flesh and blood, you're missing it. Because flesh and blood. So what we think when we hear flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom, we think, well, then we got to die so we can go and inherit the kingdom. Are you following me? That's not what it's talking about at all. Because inheritance comes when you're alive, not when you die. So the inheritance that he's talking about is a spiritual inheritance that you're supposed to receive the same way Jesus did, because now you are co-heirs with him. So Jesus didn't receive his inheritance when he died. Where did he receive his inheritance at? On the planet. Everybody say on the planet. So inheritance is not about getting off the planet. Are you following me? So I'm going to give you 3 things here that we're going to talk about and then trying to shift and go into it. And, you know, Pastor Jared teaches on this in our 3-day program. I'm going to kind of give it to you the way God gave it to me. But I've learned this. King James don't always get it right. I'm sorry, they just don't. And it's very frustrating when we've been taught things because we haven't went into the depth of what the words mean. But I want you to think about it like this. You have 3 places that you think. You have your brain, which is your flesh. You have your mind, which is your soul. And you have your heart, which is your spirit. Did you get those? So those are 3 places you think. Remember the Bible says, so as a man thinketh in his heart. Why? Because that's the spirit man. That's the person that's created in the image of Christ. So how you think in your heart is supposed to affect how you think in your soul and how you think in your mind. Because I mean, your mind's all fleshy. What does that mean? It's all based on the 5 senses. Okay? But then the soul takes it another step and it gets emotional. So it's not just about touch, see, hear. It's all about how it makes me. Come on now. See, it's the biggest problem that we have nowadays is not just the 5 senses of what we see out here. It's everything about how it makes me feel. Well, I don't feel like this. I don't feel like that. Are you out there? So anytime you're dealing with that, you're engaging the soul. So Jesus said it like this when he came. He said, I want you to love me with all of your soul. Come on, are y'all out there? So those 3 actually line up to the same thing when they're really broken down in the Hebrew the correct way. That's why he was saying, I want you to come into full agreement, spirit, soul, and body. So a lot of times we're not getting our prayers answered. We're not moving into the inheritance that belongs to us. We're not being transformed into his image because we continue to operate in separation. Everything about religion is separation. Are you following me? Everything about the kingdom is about wholeness. It's about fullness. See, we misunderstand heaven, eternal life, and the kingdom. That's 3 different things. How many knows I got eternal life right now? I don't get eternal life when I die. I got it right now. Are you with me? How many knows the kingdom is not when I die and go into heaven? And then heaven is not just a place, it's a realm. So it's 3 different things that it's talking about there. Are you following? Am I giving you too much too fast? Okay, so So what we got to have is we got to have agreement. And I've been teaching you that everything that religion does brings separation. Brings separation from you and God, like he's out there somewhere. And one day when you can't do what he said you could do, he's going to come back and get you and go, I really never meant for you to disciple the nation. Sorry about that. Right? Like Damon Thompson said, but thanks for giving it the good old college try. Are y'all out there? No, if he said he finished it and he told us we're going to disciple nations, what do you think he wants us to do? Disciple nations. But you'll never disciple nations if, one, you can't come in agreement with yourself. That's why I tell people all the time, don't get offended. I get offended at myself. Right? But I understand this. If I don't come into agreement, spirit, soul, and body, then I'm operating in separation. And wherever there's separation, there's a limit to your authority or your power or your inheritance because you're fragmented. Are you following me? You're fragmented. You need your soul, your heart, and your brain to all line up together. So which one you think should be in charge? So as a man thinketh in his heart. So what does that mean? He's saying, how do you see yourself? And do you see yourself the way God sees you? Bill Johnson says it like this: I can't afford to have a thought about myself that God does not have about me. So if a thought comes in that you're going to get cancer and die, I say, excuse me, that's not my thought. I refuse to think about that. I refuse to ponder on that. I don't care what I feel like. I don't care what's affecting me. That don't determine how I see myself. Come on, are you out there? Because once you can get it in the heart, it's tapping into a seed that carries the power to affect everything else. Why? Because the power within the seed is the power to break every law. Did y'all get that? Because listen, everything we're living under right now, the reason we're dying, the reason we're aging is because we live on a planet that has gravity. So that's why everything's dropping. Why? Because you're made out of the ground, so everything now in you is trying to pull you back into the ground. But when you take a seed and you plant that seed into the ground, there's something that happens. The ground tries to make it grow. That's why you put a fence post in the ground, it'll rot. Why? Ground's trying to make the fence post grow. That's all it knows what to do. Are you with me? So when a seed when it dies, it breaks open. Then the power within that seed, the ground pushes it up and defies the law of gravity. It's a higher law. Because everything in gravity tries to push it down. But the seed says, you don't have power over me. Because one of the first things God says, he says the power within the seed to reproduce after its own kind. That's why you look at an acorn, you're like, there's an oak tree in that acorn. But you'll never get the oak tree out of the acorn if it's never planted into the ground. And then the acorn has to die, which the ground's trying to make it grow, so the ground's trying to kill it. It don't know when it kills it, the shell breaks open, and the life within the... So y'all think I'm talking about an acorn. You got to understand everything in your life, you got to let it kill you. Because the seed on the inside of you is not a corruptible seed. Peter says it like this: it is an incorruptible seed. But as long as you're trying to protect yourself, as long as you got to defend yourself, as long as you're trying to stay alive, you're keeping the shell over the image within the seed. Anybody out there? So I'm telling you, everything you're dealing with, it's coming to a place that's saying, can you die? I mean, he already did it. He just needs you to come into agreement with it. So let me tell you, I had an encounter this week. And in this encounter, Sheila mentioned it today. It's pretty wild because we don't usually talk about what we're going to preach on. But I had this dream encounter, and I was at a youth camp. And I had this after I got back, not when I was up there. So when we did youth camps in the past, we would go and rent college facilities. So, I'm this young, crazy guy that just believes God. And so our church was like, look, we can't support that. I said, well, can I do it? And they go, well, sure, but, So I had to go sign my name for a week of camp that cost $30,000. Now, that's not much to you now, but, back in 1996, that was a lot of money, right? It's a pretty good chunk now. And so I was actually telling them, not on behalf of my church. I didn't sign the name of my church. I signed my name. That on this date, I'm going to give you $30,000. So I had to believe that I'm going to get the kit. Are you understand what I'm saying? Okay. So, we had AC. We had, sometimes it did break down. And then it started growing. We'd do 2 weeks of camp. So that's $60,000. Y'all understand what I'm talking about? So whatever God asks you to do, by the time you get comfortable in that, he'll say, now let's do some more. So in this dream, I'm in this place, and it's not that kind of youth camp, okay? It's in the woods. My idea of camping is 5-star. I'm sorry, I had a bad experience when I was a kid, all right? So anyway, in this youth camp, it's hot. We're in the woods. It's cabin. There are bugs everywhere, You don't have no air conditioning when you're preaching, and you're swatting bugs. It's hard enough to keep kids' attention, much less when mosquitoes and bugs and, So all this is going on. In the middle of this guy that Sheila was talking about that ripped our church off, ripped us off, ripped some of our friends off, he's like kind of over the youth camp. And I'm thinking, oh, heck no. It's bad enough I got to be here, but now I got to be here with him. And he walks up to me, and when he walks up, I had this, it is Father's Day, right? So I had this little confrontation in me. Like, you did it, I forgave you, but I'm going to belly bump you, right? I forgave you, but I'll give you a chance just to make a move. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And when he belly bumped me, he looked at me and he said, you don't understand. He said, I was given permission to do what I did. To see if you had enough maturity to inherit the kingdom. Some of y'all get that later. In other words, he couldn't even do what he did without permission from God. Some of y'all understand this when you look at the book of Job. The enemy just couldn't do that to Job. Matter of fact, God said, hey, brought his attention to Job and say, you checked him out. Why? Not to demote him, but to bring forth the seed. So things you're dealing with that you're griping and complaining about, you're actually killing your harvest. You're keeping yourself from the inheritance. Because here's the inheritance. The inheritance is not the likeness. The inheritance is the image. So you're supposed to be conformed to the image of God, not just the likeness. You already got the likeness. Adam got that in the garden. Are you with me? So I don't have time to take you into all the scriptures that I got here. So I'm going to read them to you. I'm going to throw them at you, then I'm going to go back into it. Is that right? So in Genesis 1, 26, 27, and 28, I've said this over and over and over. But God said, let us make man in our image and our likeness. Okay? So it's the Trinity, and they're having a conversation saying we're going to make man in our image and likeness. So when you look at that, it's a process. He's saying it's a process. All right? When you look at the whole 3 verses, the mandate is earth. You follow me? The mandate is earth. See, most people are not moving into inheritance because they don't understand earth is part of the inheritance. And they think they're going to get their inheritance when they die in their cabin in the corner. So then you wonder why you don't have authority and power in the kingdom here. Because that's inherited. Okay, that's why people are so frustrated. They're trying to put the kingdom first without understanding inheritance. You'll never put the kingdom first if you don't understand inheritance. So what you'll do is you'll continue to work trying to put the kingdom first. It's not an issue of putting the kingdom first by work. It's an issue of putting the kingdom first by believing what God said about you. The whole thing about faith got distorted because the verse before, talking about faith, this is what it says. Can you believe the report of the Lord? That's it. Who can believe the report of the Lord? What's the report of the Lord? It's what he did on the cross for you. It's what he dealt with. It's what he removed. See, it starts there. It starts with coming into agreement with now how he sees you. Are you following me? He told Nicodemus this. He said, listen, you can't even see the kingdom unless you're born again. But you can qualify born again, but there's a lot of people born again, they still don't see the kingdom. He didn't say you would see it. He's just saying you can't see it if you're not. Why? Because it's spiritually discerned. See, if you really want to understand inheritance, you want the image, because the likeness operates by the soul. So when God created man, when over here in chapter 2, and he took the ground and he formed the man, right? He became a living soul. Everybody say living soul. And then we know what happened through the whole thing. We know how the curse and everything came in, okay? And he was put into the earth, all right? So, and I've taught you this about Adam, what came out of him. But this is what God said. After man ate of the tree, he became like God. Very important. Like God. Knowing good from evil. Everybody say, thank goodness for the likeness. But I want the image. Did you get that? See, Adam carried the likeness. He understood 5 senses, the knowledge of good and evil. Are you with me? Okay, let me give you a couple passages. Genesis 3:22 says he become like us. Genesis 5, verse 1. This is the book of the genealogy of Adam. Who's the genealogy of? In the day that God created man, he made him in the... So he ain't talking about 1:26, 27, 28, because 1:26, 27, 8, talking about likeness and image. So the genealogy of Adam has to do with likeness. What's the likeness? Knowing good from evil. Are you with me? There's another passage that says when he had a son named Seth, Seth was what? In the likeness of Adam. Did you get that? Okay. Romans. I just want to give you some scripture, so I want you to see that you're legal in this so you can understand how to shift. Romans chapter 6, verse 5. For if we've been united together in the likeness of his death. So Jesus came with an Adam suit on. Are you following me? So he had the likeness of Adam. But he also came in the image of God. And we'll talk about that in a second. But first I want to show you what happened to the likeness. For if we've been united together in the likeness of his death, certainly we shall also be in the likeness of his... Now we sing this all the time, talking about resurrection power. Well, where does that come from? It doesn't come from the first Adam, because that's the likeness. So we're like him in his death on the cross that the first Adam died. Are you with me? But it's the last Adam that it says he likes us to the man that got up. How many knows that's not the knowledge of good and evil there? That's the same spirit that raised Christ from the dead now dwells in me. How does it dwell? In a seed. Everybody say in a seed. Peter says it like this. It's an incorruptible seed. You know what that means? It cannot be corrupted. Pretty simple, right? So if I can come into agreement with what cannot be corrupted, there is an inheritance within that anti-corruption that will affect my body and my soul. So how will it affect it? Romans tells you the same spirit will do what? It will quicken, which means make alive your mortal body. It means it's a higher law that has power over death. Death is nobody's friend, guys. If he tasted death for every person, and the same spirit lives in you that conquered death. Isn't that what he's saying? Come on, the Christ that went to hell, and you know what he did? It was his soul that went to hell. His spirit went to Father. His body went to the tomb, and it didn't see no corruption. And his soul went to hell, and what did it do? Preach to souls. Peter says he went and preached to the souls that was in hell. Okay. that spirit that then raised him from the dead kicked death in the butt. Come on, says, now I got power over you because I got the key over you. Now I'm going to give that to my creation. Then why are we living by laws less than what he gave us, which is a new kingdom? Okay. Maybe give it to you like this. When he talked to Peter, he said this, I'm going to give you the keys of the kingdom. How many knows the kingdom wasn't already here? He brought it. Which means the king's domain. Which means everything, but let's just bring it down a little bit further. Not just everything, but I'm the king's domain. So he came to live on the inside of me and have dominion over everything in me. Now, doesn't that sound like Genesis 1, 26, 27, 28? I'll give you dominion. Okay? So let me ask you something. Where did Adam represent dominion? Because remember, the mandate was earth. Adam was in Eden, which is paradise. See, I need to nail this down to you. You got to understand he was always talking about Jesus. Because man had the likeness. Jesus was going to have the likeness and the image. Okay, so let me take a turn here and help you with this because it's Father's Day, right? Isn't it Father's Day? So if it's Father's Day, we want Father's inheritance. Come on, look at your neighbor and say, I want Father's inheritance. I'm not going to settle for anything less. Okay, so let's just say I had a dad and he had $10 million and he died. And he left his last will and... Well, some of y'all got it. He left his last will and... So the issue is about the will. So in other words, he's put things in his last will and testament. If I come into agreement with his will, then I get the inheritance. If I do not come into agreement with his will, I do not get the inheritance. Well, I just don't like that. You're not the one that died. He has the right to leave it however he wants to leave it. So let's just say, your dad died and gave you $10 million, but it says, with this, he has to do this, and he has to do this, and he has to, whatever that stipulation is. Then you come before a judge, and the judge says, here's the last will and testament. And to the degree that you come into alignment with his will and his testament, then you get the money. And you go, well, I don't want to do that. And the judge goes, well, you don't have to. But you ain't getting no money. Because I operate legally. And I have to operate by his will. Okay. See, that's why this thing is so important when Jesus died before time. That's what we're going into in the next 3 days. Because if you can start to operate where it started, then you're operating outside of time. So whatever happens inside of time has no influence on you if you're already in agreement to the will that happened outside of time. So that's why he said the enemy comes, but he has no place in me. Why? Because he already came into agreement with Father's will before he ever came to the planet. So when they came to him, he came like this. He said, why do you call me good? There's none good but the Father. I don't do anything unless I see or hear from Father's will. In the garden, this is what he said. Is there any other way this can happen? Nevertheless. Now, why would he say that? Because he had to identify with the first Adam. What does that mean? Your flesh don't want to do it. Your soul don't want to do it. And it'll try to find any other way to go except die. Why? Because it wants to protect itself. It has a built-in system. I put a thing on Facebook. Gordon put it on there and talks about, if you're not willing to challenge your own beliefs, you're an incredible warden of your own prison. That's good. And that's where the church in America has been, is don't you dare challenge how I believe. This is the great hope that Jesus is going to come someday. Well, honey, you done missed the hope because he's living on the inside of me. And Christ in me is the hope. Not Christ come someday is the hope. Christ in me is the hope. So you're trying to separate, to fragment, to keep me to wait for something that I already possess. Are you all right? So the whole issue of the cross was about the will. So in the garden, he said, not my will. In other words, not my flesh and my soul, because they want to try to find out any other way to do this. Are you with me? But I already came into agreement of why I was sent here. Now, and I need to get this part. He said, now was Jesus a word? In the beginning was the Word was made flesh with God. You with me? So he says, Isaiah says this, I watch over my word, that what I send it to do, it will not return void, but it will accomplish what I sent it to do. Okay. How could he say that? Because the agreement of what the Word was going to be sent to the planet to do was made from the kingdom realm, planted into the earth realm. So he's making a declaration before he ever plants that son in Mary. We've already come into agreement that my will is going to be accomplished on the earth, not Adam. So when you come into agreement with the will outside of time, which is so important for you to understand, it blows your mind, but you're the one that chose to be here. You're the one that chose to be here during this time. That's why all your days were written in a book yet before any one of them was lived out. That's why I've got to get you to operate in a memory of what's already been done. So Jesus, when he came, when he was living it out, he was remembering who he was before he ever came to the planet. That's called suffering, baby. See, he had to learn obedience by the things that he suffered. What was suffering? His soul and his flesh. Why? Because he's God. He's the one that created everything. But he said, I had to learn this. So it's a process for him to come in to the fullness. If it's a process for him, what's it going to be for you? That's what he means when he's saying, you got to take up your cross. It doesn't mean go build you a cross and go out there. That was just the end result of his cross. His cross is his will. He said, I've already died to my will. So if it's Father's will for me to end up on a cross, okay. Not a problem, because I already took up my cross. That's what he was telling Peter. He said, hey, Peter, you went, when you were young, you went and did what you wanted to. But when you're old, they're going to take you, and they're going to take you where you don't want to go. But this is how you're going to bring glory to me in your death. How many want that word from the Lord? See, the good news is they were laying that out so that we could understand what it takes to move into inheritance. It's called death. Why? Because when you die, a seed, unless it fall into the ground and die, the power within the seed can't come forward to break every law that's telling the seed you can't do that. So your doubt and unbelief is to keep your shell intact. Because if he can keep your shell intact and there's no agreement, there's no power to break the shell. Because what breaks the shell is you willing to die. Because when you're willing to die, then the incorruptible power that belongs to the kingdom now starts to come out of you. And as soon as that starts to happen, somebody's going to offend you. Somebody's going to do you wrong. Somebody's going to say something to you. So what happens is you actually stop your own growth. Because you come back into agreement with the laws that are over the planet. So how do I do that? Because that was flesh or soul that offended you. So then you come into agreement with flesh and soul that came out of the ground. So because you come into agreement with the ground, it pulls you back to the ground. But when you come into agreement with the kingdom, that's from another realm. And you say, listen, I don't only forgive you, let me pray for you, baby. Let me give you a blessing. Let me give you 100. Because you understand all that's doing is cracking your shell. So I'll pay you to crack my shell. Do it again. Listen, this is what he said. Houses, lands will be given to you in this time 100-fold with persecution. Why? Because the persecution breaks open the shell. See, he said, if you understand this parable, you understand all parables. If you don't get this one, you're stupid. Sorry, that's Begley translation. Okay? So you ought to understand that parable. If you can get that parable down, you can understand everything else. Because everything has to do with what? A seed. That's why I said God is a farmer. He created everything, but he planted a garden. See, if you understand that, that's why you can't go to church anywhere you want to, even though it's got a little hotter in here right now. Why? Because you won't grow unless you're in the place that God plants you. Sheila said it like this. He said, John 1 tells you this, said, you didn't get here by flesh and blood. You got here by God. Now, y'all don't look at me like that. John chapter 1. I'll just show you, man. You think your parents... You know, I'll just throw this in there. It's free. I saw this on Facebook. I thought it was hilarious. They said, if you got a daddy, you need to go bless him because mama probably wasn't even in the mood. Yeah. I thought that was a good Father's Day blessing right there. Sorry for my warped sense of humor. Watch this. Verse 10. Come on back. Come on back. Verse 10, chapter 1. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become the children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were not born of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, but of God. So let's connect that. Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom. So your inheritance is not based on your mama or daddy. Okay. What I'm trying to tell you, I don't care how you thought you got here. God said, you coming. Did you get that? If you can start to understand that, what attaches to that is, well, then I got a reason to be here. I got a purpose for being here. Are y'all okay? But to find that's why people can't find their purpose. They can't find their meaning. They're trying to get it in flesh and blood. They're looking for it. They're pursuing it. They're going after it. Purpose-driven church. I mean, all this, got to get it. No. You cannot get it through pursuit. You can only get it through inheritance. It means it's free. It's paid for. You can't do anything to get it. You got to receive it. What does that mean? It means I have to believe what he says about me is true. So I have to be transformed by the renewing of my mind. So what's going to transform you, the renewing of your mind? Because that's your soul. Hello. Somewhere, she said it this morning, she said, God don't see your behavior, he sees you after your heart. So as a man thinketh in his heart, that's a spiritual dimension. When you can start to think and see how God sees you, it'll start to transform your mind. So then you don't move by feelings anymore. Okay. Maybe too deep for you. Then it gets into your brain, watch this, and you don't even move by choices anymore. That's another level. See, you really think you got a choice. Really? Jesus said, no, I already chose before I ever came. So I'm not the one making the choices. I think somewhere in a book in Romans it says those that are led by the Spirit. So who's making the choices? Put y'all out of control, didn't it? Did you understand what I just said? See, that's where the inheritance comes through. It's by the Spirit. So the Spirit, watch this, helps you believe who God says you are. That's why he said, when you don't know how to pray, pray in the Spirit. He knows. He searches the deep things of God. He's the one that makes them known. Eye has not seen, ear has not heard, but by the Spirit it is revealed to God. People ask me all the time, how do you know it's God? Because I know by my spirit. My spirit bore witness with His Spirit that I'm born again. Are you following me? So you got people dealing with this stuff, and they're in traps, they're in circles, all this. So how do I get out? I said, well, the first place you got to go back to is, what do you believe about God? Because what you believe about Him determines what you think, or how you see how He believes about you. So I got to take everything. Watch this. I can't look at it through the prophets. I can't look at it through the law. The one I have to look to is, how did Father see Jesus? Then that's how He sees me. Because He's co-heirs. I'm co-heirs with Jesus. So I don't see the heavens open and say, here's Jesus, my beloved Son. I see the heavens open going, that's my Darrin right there. That's my boy. Looks just like me. And I'm conforming that likeness into my image. Changed from glory to glory. From faith to faith. How? By how I believe what He did for me. Where does it happen? On the inside out. It's not me doing it, guys. The seed is already there. I just got to come into agreement that He died. And so I associate in the likeness of His death. Adam don't rule me. My mind don't rule me. My brain don't rule me. He killed it for me. Now I don't associate my likeness to His death anymore. I can do that one time, I'm done. Now I'm going to associate to the likeness of His resurrection. That's a whole different breed. Because that guy has power over death. That guy has power over every law that operates on the earth. Now why? Because in Genesis 1, 26 and 27, He gave him dominion over what? The earth. Why? Because the earth is your inheritance. He says, the heaven belongs to me, but the earth I have given to the sons of God. So you got to determine, are you a son of God or are you an apostle? You a prophet, you an intercessor, you a worship leader, or are you a son? Because inheritance only comes to sonship. That equals the playing field. Your gift is just a gift. I mean, she black. She can't brag because she black. She didn't get to choose black. I can't brag because I'm white. That's a gift. Just like being black is a gift. Being Asian is, listen guys, that's a gift. Don't ever reject how God made you. Watch this. That's what our government, that's what the world's trying to do. It's trying to fragment us through color, through gender, through culture. Why? Because if he can fragment you in any area, he's got authority and he gets your power. Because guess what? You're operating by flesh and blood. And if you operate by flesh and blood, you're missing the inheritance that comes to spirit. Because Paul says it like this. He said, in the kingdom. Are we in the kingdom? Yes. Is he the king of our lives? Yes. He said, there is no black or white. There is no male or female. There is no Jew or Greek. What does that mean? There's no comparison. I don't compare myself to anybody because we're sons and daughters in the kingdom. It all belongs to us because we're co-heirs. Okay. So this is what he told Peter. He said, let me show you how this operates. Because if you can get this, it will change your finances, guy. Why? Because Jesus was born rich. If he was born a son and a star on the earth was shining, saying, that's a king. So his dominion was given before he ever came to the planet. Because the choice of God's will was made outside of time. So the earth had to come into agreement, shine upon a king going to be born. And what did he bring to the earth? Good news, peace, goodwill to, oh come on, y'all sang about it. The earth is decreeing the king. So if he was born king, he was rich when he was born. So it wasn't 3 wise men. It was 3 gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They were already bringing it way before, watch this, he even came to the planet. If you understand what they were doing, they were reading the stars. Because if you're made in the image of God, the earth is going to reveal the glory of the king. So the earth is saying, the king's coming, the king's coming. The religious folks are in the middle of it, and they don't know he's coming. These folks out there going, oh, he's coming. It's there, right. The star is saying, look at there. We can follow that star, and it's going to show us the king. And so they start bringing wealth before he ever was born. I think that's why he said he became poor so you could become rich. Where? At the cross. But can you believe it? Because if you believe you already have it, you're living from it, not trying to get it. If you're trying to get it, you're pursuing it, and you'll never get it. But if you put the kingdom first, it's added to you. What does it mean? It's already yours, but when you start to see yourself the way the king does, he says, now I can trust him with it. It already belongs to you. But when you align with my will, then what's in your account, the judge goes, release that $5 million. Because they won't worship it and do all this stuff with it. They'll use it for the king and the king. That's why the most important thing is your will. And I mean, you've been told by everybody on the planet you got a free will. No, you don't. Not if you're in the kingdom. Now, you can pick it up if you want to, but you just resurrected Adam. And so you're going to associate in likeness. Hello. So anytime you judge somebody, what are you doing? You're judging between good and evil, and you're doing it out of the likeness. Watch this. Which releases a law to bring back to you in the planet what you just judged. So if that's a law, and I can operate by a higher law, but I can cause them to come into agreement, you just going to get mercy from me. Well, you know, they got me in the back. Here, take another shot. Because the Bible says he's my rear guard. He's the one that's going to take up for me. He's the one that's going to vindicate me. He says, my children will vindicate. You know what he's saying? The next generation will vindicate what you're operating in. That's why we're reaping what we're reaping in the church today, because we've given them a religious system and not a relationship with a person. So they're trying to do everything right. They're smarter than we are. And they realize, I can't make it. I can't do this. Might as well do what I want to. So what do? They apprehend their will. Oh, it done got quiet. Why? Because you're giving them rules and regulations without relationship that always releases rebellion. But if you give them the relationship, the rules and regulations don't even apply to them. Okay. Did you get that? If you got relationship, rules and regulations don't apply to you. Rules and regulations are for lawbreakers. But when you're in relationship, it's not about breaking a law anymore. It's operating from a different realm called love. And love conquers all. So love will inhabit you to operate in the place you were created to operate, which is by his will. For God so loved the world. So where did he love it? He loved it outside of time and then came into it. So the decision was already made. So I'm learning in the midst of this, my decision's already made. I already chose it. So I'm now even more coming into that place, remembering what I already chose. Because it's in my book. And we'll teach on that on the 3-day a little bit about how to go in and start to read your book. Because if it's your book, you ought to have the right to read it. I mean, you mean God wrote a book about you and he's not going to let you read it? He let you read his. Did he read his? He come down, got his book and opened it and said, in Isaiah, and said, this has been fulfilled. So if I'm a co-heir with him and he can read his book, bless God, I can read my book. Come on, growing up, I didn't even know I had a book. Psalms 139, if you want to go find it. And I promise you, it's not about him withholding from you. But he's not going to give it to your soul and your flesh because it can't inherit. Your soul and flesh will constantly try to work for it. Spirit just goes, that's my daddy. Belongs to me. My kids, they don't come in my house and go to the refrigerator and go, hey, Dad, can I eat that? Come on now. Why? They know it belongs to them. What's in it? It's theirs. They're not going to ask me to eat it. Why? Because they understand what's mine is theirs. Sometimes to my own fault. Are y'all out there? Okay, so let me give you this about Peter and we'll close. He said, Peter, this is how I'm going to do it and this is how I'm going to operate because the mandate's earth. Everybody say the mandate's earth. He said, whatever you bind on, why did he start with earth? Because earth is the mandate. Earth is where you're supposed to have dominion. So let's just look. Did the Jesus man have dominion on the earth? Told the storm to stop and it stopped. Took the fish and bread and multiplied it. Come on, y'all out there. So who had the dominion? The Jesus man. So where does your inheritance need to come from? The Jesus man. Are you following me? And so where does that come? It comes in the likeness of the resurrection. Because this is what he said. He said, go and wait for power. And Paul came teaching the kingdom is in power, in demonstration. So what did they receive on the day of Pentecost? The Spirit. So your inheritance comes to your spirit. Do you get this? That's why you're meant to live from your spirit, possess your soul, and walk it out in your flesh. All three in agreement. When you can get all three in agreement, all things are possible to those that believe. Believe where? In all three. With all your heart, with all your strength, with all your mind. It's really talking about your spirit, soul, and body coming into agreement that you put God above everything else. He's it. I don't have plan B. I don't have another agenda. It's all on Him. Are you following me? Now, what's going to happen in the middle of that? Doubt, unbelief, worry. What's He trying to do? Keep you in the ground. Those laws are saying, you're not an acorn tree. You're just a dead seed. You're never going to get out of the ground. It's dark in here. Men love darkness more than light. But the light shine through the... Come on, you put a seed in the ground, it's in a dark place. But the power in that seed goes to the light. He is life. He is the light of all men. So in the dark place, it's not a bad place. It's just of apprehending going, the light's coming. The light's coming. I'm not going to stay in this dark place because the seed in me is going to burst through that ground. It's going to break forth in light. Did you know you came out of darkness in the womb? And some of you didn't want to come out. The doctor's saying, push, push. Until that baby, bam, and breaks in light. Then it freaks it out. Ah! Why? Watch this. I want you to get it. Why? Because it's comfortable in there. You're being nurtured. You're being fed by somebody. Oh, y'all think I'm talking about a baby. I am. I'm talking about you in the church. You want to stay in that little place. You want cuddled. You want fed. Hello. I'm safe in here. You're protecting me. You're feeding me. Yeah, but if I keep you in there, you're going to kill me and you. Oh, y'all better hear that. If that baby don't come out, it'll kill the mama because it'll get too big. Why? Because there's a time that's a birthing that God goes, whether you push or not, it's coming out. Because I set a time. And that time, that baby's going, I don't want to leave, but I can't keep from it. Why? Because God put it in that place. So what you're trying to hold on to that feels safe, He's going, you coming out of there. I'm not going to let them keep feeding you. Come on, I told you this stuff's going to start manifesting. Did y'all see where there was 12 rainbows over Houston last week? Houston was freaking out about how many rainbows there was. And listen, y'all do know a rainbow is a circle. You can't see it from the ground. But from the air, a different dimension, it's a perfect circle. Come on, I talked about that. I've been talking about that law. A law of circularity. Come on, are you with me? Why? Because when he started it, he finished it. And then he goes, here, now you figure it out. That's what Jesus did. He came and he learned obedience. So he had the likeness. He had Adam. But he also had the image. Are you following? Let me give you a couple scriptures and I'm quitting. Just so you know. 2 Corinthians. Chapter 4. Verse 3, but if our gospel is veiled, it's veiled to those who are perishing, whose minds the God of this age has blinded, who not believe the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. Who's the image of God? Christ. Why cannot they believe? They're blinded. Where are they blinded? In their mind. Are you getting this? They're blinded in their mind. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17 and 18. Back up a little bit. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. But we all with unveiled face, beholding in a mirror the glory of the Lord, are the same, being transformed into the image, not the likeness. Why? Because we're unveiled. We believe. Come on now, we're not just believing so we can get to heaven someday. We believe to be transformed into the image. Why? Because when the image was on the planet, he had dominion over the whole planet. How did he get it? Through inheritance. How do you get it? Through inheritance. You're a co-heir with him. It belongs to you. It's in his will and testament. So when I come into agreement with his will and testament that I agreed to before I came, just like Jesus agreed to before he came. Are you a word? Because you came out of him. So it's a word from the word. And God says, I'll watch over my word. So when the word agrees with the word, everything else has to change. I don't care what law is in place. Gravity, you got to go. Translation can be done. Aging can be reversed. Why? Because he's conquered death. He's conquered that law. That's why you see everybody on the planet. Come on, we got all creams and lotions and wrinkle this and Botox. And why? Because we know aging is not right. So we all trying to get younger. Okay. Too far. That's why he said there is a generation that's coming that the last enemy to be defeated will be death. And they will put it underneath their feet. I just say, why not us? Why not? Why not? Well, I mean, if it's available and he's paid for it, and now that same spirit that conquered death now lives in me. If I can come into agreement with that, I can reverse some things. I can change some things. I can operate differently by inheritance. People say, well, you done gone crazy now. Then just leave me alone. I mean, I'm enjoying my craziness. But if it's in the Word of God, and it is, why are we scared to believe something the world's chasing? And we're supposed to get it by inheritance. I got a whole bunch more about the image and all that, but I'm going to stop. Hebrews says he's express image. Hebrews 1, verse 3. But so I'm going to give just a couple testimonies. Okay, if I share that? Where'd he go? Eddie. Did Eddie go? Okay. I'm going to give this and we'll shoot. We're in the 3-day in Oklahoma. And a lot of things were happening. And once I get in that, sometimes I don't just prophesy. I kind of scream prophesy. It gets very heavy. And so in the encounter time, Eddie saw a box with a key. Okay? And we're in the bathroom. He goes, man, I saw a box with a key. I have no idea what it means. And I'm just like, oh, well, God will show you. Just keep going, right? And so in the middle of this, everything's happening. And all of a sudden, I see Eddie, and I run over, and I start prophesying over him. And I start giving him the interpretation. And I start telling him what to do. Now, how many knows this ain't me telling him what to do? Eddie's a pretty big old boy, right? So I'm saying this is what happened, and I'm not going to tell you the testimony. He can tell you if you want to get into it in the detail. But I said, this is what happened with you, and this is what happened with your son. And this is how he feels. And this is the key to reverse that. And when you receive this and go do this and release a blessing on him, it will change. Even his work will change, and he'll get a different job. Julio, am I telling the truth? Julio was with him. Eddie came home and did it, went to a restaurant, honored his son, broke that thing, and then now his son got a job which will be twice the amount of money that he was making. That's the kingdom. It's just that simple. The people that are right next door, they came over to our house, and there are pastors that we helped them get in here, and we're ministering over and prophesying over them. I said, I see a merge coming. And this whole merge, and you're going to, and I told him this stuff. I called him this morning because he texted me last night and said, we're going to be moving out at the end of the month, And he said, it's that word you gave me about a merge. He said, we wasn't looking for it, and this church came and said, hey, we want to merge, and you understand what I'm saying? When the word of the Lord comes, then you got, can I agree with that? Once you agree with that, that's the power of that will. Now for you to inherit the houses, the lands, the resources. Are you following me? But the greatest thing you inherit is that dominion, that authority. That you carry your own atmosphere and you shift things where you operate. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, but this family on the back row, the guy in the blue, and yeah, would you stand just for a second? And your wife, is it your wife? Okay, and I don't mean to embarrass you, but I saw a circle with you guys. And one, I want to confirm the merger of families and what God has done with you guys. But this is what I heard. God has trained you in things that you've done and things that you're good at. But the day is coming, you're supposed to train others. And as you train others in this, there'll be resource attached to it. For God says, even as I have mixed the families and I have merged them, what I am doing with you, there's an anointing up on your life to merge the world with the church. And times it'll be very practical because we tried to separate it. It's really not separate. And God's going to show you how to do that even with business, even with an entrepreneurship, even with almost like an eye on how to decorate and how to shift things and not only how to redeem a certain thing, but how to put everything in its place where it's worth more than just a shell. But it's almost like I saw furniture in it, and it's like a turnkey operation, and they walked in and went, oh, wow. And you could ask so much more for it because of wealth and things that are coming, and even people moving into the city. So I'm just telling you some things God's doing in your family has been here, but God wants to take it here for influence of showing the world the goodness of God. So Father, I just release it over them. I bless them with it in Jesus' name. Amen. Stand up with me. All right, trying to be true to my word here. I got a whole lot, but how many want the Father's inheritance? First and foremost, you got to believe it belongs to you. That's the biggest thing. You got to transform your mind by how you believe in your heart. It all comes to what He's already done for you. And if you'll just start to rest in that, everything else will start to shift. And then it's not you trying to make a choice. The choice has already been made. And you just hear what He says and you can move right into it. Now listen, you don't run before you can crawl. Come on, don't believe Him for 10 million if you can't believe Him for 10,000. Are you with me? But start and then you practice and you let God move you into that. That's what's coming, guys. And I'm telling you, we need to be prepared for it because He wants to give us the resources so that we can do things that the church has always, has always confessed and believed for. Stop it. Look at your neighbor and say, stop it. You don't have to confess and believe for it. It's already yours. You need to receive what's already been done and then operate from that place of sonship. When that happens, He says, I will add all things to you. Matter of fact, He says it like this. Look at the birds of the air. Look how I take care of them. Take no thought. That's soulish. Don't get into worry. Don't get into doubt. That's taking a thought. When you take that thought, you move back into old Adam. Because God's not a thought, He's a belief. It's done. It's finished. Belongs to you. Operate from that place and start to shift. Because then you have the authority to speak into a situation that has to change. Amen? So, Father, I bless your people today on a Father's Day. I bless all the fathers. And God, I know you're raising them up to be the influence that they're supposed to be. God, I thank you for families that are coming into agreement. I thank you for merged families where they've been hurt and disappointment, and you're bringing wholeness, and you're showing what looked like was destruction. You always come to bring life. What looked like was death and could never operate in that way again, God, you're a God of restoration. And so, God, I bless your people today with the Father's blessing. In Jesus' name, amen. You are released. Have a good Father's Day.